The park bench sat beneath an old oak tree that had probably witnessed 1,000 autumn afternoons just like this one. The leaves had turned brilliant shades of gold and amber, and they fell in lazy spirals to carpet the ground below. The late afternoon sun slanted through the branches at that particular angle that makes everything look softer, warmer, like a memory already being formed. Ethan Winters sat on that bench, coffee in hand, trying to find a moment of peace in a day that had been nothing but chaos. He was 36 years old, with dark hair and a face that showed both the success he'd achieved and the stress that came with it. He wore a navy suit because he'd come straight from the office, from a board meeting that had run 3 hours longer than scheduled, from decisions about mergers and acquisitions that affected hundreds of jobs but felt somehow meaningless in the broader scope of his life. Ethan ran a consulting firm that his father had started, and he'd spent the last 10 years building it into something bigger than anyone had imagined. But somewhere along the way, he'd lost sight of why it mattered. He'd lost his marriage to a woman who'd told him he was more interested in spreadsheets than people. He'd lost touch with most of his friends, all of whom had families and children and busy lives that didn't include room for a workaholic who canceled plans more often than he kept them. So now he found himself alone on a park bench on a Thursday afternoon, having left work early for the first time in 6 months, holding a coffee he didn't really want and wondering when his life had become something he was trying to escape from instead of embrace. He was deep in these thoughts when he heard a small voice beside him. "Excuse me, mister?" Ethan looked down and saw a little girl standing a few feet away. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, with blonde curls that caught the golden light and wide eyes that held a mixture of hope and nervousness. She wore a teal-blue dress with white trim, white tights, and pink sneakers that had seen better days. In her hands, she clutched what appeared to be a handful of envelopes. "Hello," Ethan said, glancing around for a parent or guardian. The park wasn't crowded, but there were a few people scattered about, taking advantage of the beautiful afternoon. He couldn't immediately tell who might belong to this child. "Are you by yourself?" Ethan asked gently. "No, my mommy's over there," the girl said, pointing toward a bench about 30 yards away. Ethan could make out a woman sitting there watching them. She raised a hand in a small wave, acknowledging that she could see her daughter. "She said I could give out my invitations but not to go too far and not to bother people if they look busy." "I'm not busy," Ethan said, and realized with a start that it was true. For the first time in years, he truly had nowhere he needed to be. The little girl brightened. "Really? Because I'm having a birthday party, and I'm inviting everyone in the park today. I'm going to be 6 on Saturday." She held out one of the envelopes, which Ethan could see was handmade. The envelope was pink construction, paper with stickers of butterflies and flowers decorating it, and his name slot was left blank since she didn't know it. Ethan took the invitation carefully, touched by the obvious care that had gone into making it. "That's very nice of you to invite me. What's your name?" "Lily," the girl said. "Lily Patterson." "What's your name?" "Ethan Winters." "Nice to meet you, Lily." "Nice to meet you, too. Mr. Ethan." Lily shifted the remaining envelopes to one hand and brushed a curl out of her face with the other. "My party is at my house at 2 o'clock on Saturday. There's going to be cake and games and everything. Well, maybe not everything, but a lot of fun things. Mommy promised." "That sounds wonderful," Ethan said. "I bet you're excited." Lily nodded enthusiastically, but then her expression became more serious. "I am excited, but I'm also a little worried." "Why are you worried?" Ethan asked, his full attention now on this small person who'd approached him out of nowhere with her handmade invitations and honest eyes. Lily looked back toward where her mother sat, then back at Ethan. When she spoke, her voice was quieter, more careful. "My mommy's sick. She has cancer. Do you know what cancer is?" Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. "Yes, I do. I'm sorry to hear your mom is sick." "She's been sick for a while," Lily continued, with the matter-of-fact tone children sometimes adopt when discussing difficult things. "She had to go to the hospital lots of times, and sometimes she feels really, really tired. But she's getting better now, the doctors say. She just gets tired more than other mommies." Ethan didn't know what to say, so he simply listened. "The thing is," Lily went on, "I wanted a big party, like my friend Emma had. with lots of people and decorations and a bouncy castle. But Mommy said we need to have a smaller party because we can't spend too much money right now. Medical bills, she said, and because she might get too tired if it's too big. Lily looked down at her pink sneakers. I said that was okay because I don't want Mommy to be more tired. But then I got sad because I thought maybe not many people would come to a small party. So you decided to invite people from the park? Ethan asked gently. Lily nodded. Mommy said it was okay as long as I asked permission and didn't go far away where she couldn't see me. She said it was creative problem solving. She looked up at Ethan with those wide eyes. I've invited 7 people so far. 2 said yes, 3 said no, and 2 said maybe. What about you? Will you come to my party? Ethan looked at this brave little girl who was inviting strangers to her birthday party because she wanted her celebration to feel full, wanted her mother to see that people cared even though money was tight and circumstances were hard. He looked at the homemade invitation in his hands, at the stickers placed with obvious care, at the crayon writing that spelled out the details of the party. Lily, he said, I would be honored to come to your party. Lily's face lit up like sunrise. Really? You'll really come? Really, Ethan confirmed. That's so great, Lily said. Then she leaned in a little closer, her voice dropping to something like a whisper. And Mr. Ethan, when you come, could you maybe smile a lot? Mommy's been worried that the party won't be fun because we can't do all the big stuff. But she'll still smile if she sees people are happy to be there. She always smiles when other people are happy, even when she's tired or not feeling good. So if you could smile, that would help. Ethan felt tears sting his eyes, and he had to take a moment before responding. Here was this child, dealing with her mother's illness and their financial struggles, and her main concern was making sure her mother would smile at the party. I promise I'll smile, Ethan said. In fact, I'll do my best to make it a great party for both you and your mom. Would that be okay? That would be really, really okay, Lily said solemnly. She waved goodbye and ran off to invite other park-goers to her party, leaving Ethan sitting on the bench holding a pink envelope covered in stickers. He watched her mother stand up and intercept Lily, crouching down to talk to her, probably asking about her success rate. The woman looked tired even from this distance. But she smiled at whatever Lily was saying, and Ethan could see the love between them. Ethan opened the invitation. Inside was another piece of construction paper folded in half, with "You're invited" written in careful letters at the top. Below that was information about the party, Saturday at 2 p.m., an address in a neighborhood Ethan recognized as modest but decent, and a note at the bottom that said, "Please bring yourself and a smile. No gifts necessary." Ethan pulled out his phone and added the party to his calendar. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He left work early the next day and went shopping. On Saturday afternoon, Ethan pulled up to the address on the invitation. It was a small house with a neat yard, decorated with balloons and a homemade Happy Birthday Lily banner. He could hear music and children's laughter coming from the backyard. Ethan had spent most of Friday evening and Saturday morning preparing. His car was now packed with supplies that he hoped would make Lily's party special without overshadowing what her mother had already planned. He knocked on the door, and it was opened by a woman in her early 30s with blonde hair like Lily's and the same kind eyes. She looked thin and tired, but her smile was genuine. "Hello," she said. "You must be one of Lily's park invitations. I'm Claire, Lily's mom. Thank you so much for coming. Please don't feel obligated to stay if you have other things to do. I know my daughter can be quite persuasive." "I'm Ethan Winters," he said, "and I'm happy to be here. Actually, I was hoping I could talk to you for a moment before I go to the backyard. Is that okay?" Claire looked curious but nodded, stepping outside and closing the door behind her. "Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine," Ethan assured her. "It's just that Lily invited me to her party. And we had a conversation about how you've been sick and how the party is smaller than she originally wanted. And I was hoping you'd let me contribute a few things to make the day special." Claire's expression shifted to something more guarded. "Mr. Winters, that's very kind, but I can't accept charity. We're doing fine. The party might be simple, but it's enough." "I understand," Ethan said gently. "And I respect your pride, but I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a birthday gift for Lily. She invited me to her party, and I want to give her a gift. The only difference is that my gift isn't wrapped in a box." He walked to his car and opened the trunk. Inside was everything for the party that Claire's budget probably couldn't stretch to cover. A professionally decorated cake from the best bakery in town. Party favors for all the kids. A piñata shaped like a unicorn. Decorations to add to what was already there. Face painting supplies. A cotton candy machine he'd rented for the afternoon. Claire put her hand to her mouth and Ethan saw tears in her eyes. "Mr. Winters, I can't—" "Please," Ethan said. "Lily told me something that I can't stop thinking about. She said her mommy will smile if people are happy at the party, and I'd really like to see both of you smile today. Will you let me help make that happen?" Claire looked at him for a long moment, then at the supplies in his car, then back at him. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Ethan thought about the question. "Because a brave little girl invited a stranger to her party and reminded me that there are more important things in life than the things I've been focusing on. Because I can help and I want to. Because sometimes we all need someone to show up for us, especially when times are hard. And because Lily asked me to smile, and I realized I haven't had much to smile about lately. This gives me something." Claire wiped her eyes. "You're going to make me cry before the party even starts." "Happy tears?" Ethan asked. "The happiest," Claire confirmed. They spent the next 20 minutes setting everything up. And when Lily saw what Ethan had brought, she threw her arms around his waist and squeezed tight. "You brought a real unicorn piñata!" she exclaimed. "And is that cotton candy?" "I've always wanted to try cotton candy." "Happy birthday, Lily," Ethan said, grinning down at her. The party was a tremendous success. 15 kids ended up attending, a mix of Lily's school friends, neighborhood children, and 3 people from the park who'd accepted her invitation. Ethan helped run the games, operated the cotton candy machine, and made sure every child felt included and had fun. But his favorite moments were the quieter ones, when he caught Claire's eye across the yard and saw her smiling as she watched. Lily laughed with her friends. When a little boy who seemed shy asked Ethan to help him with the face painting, and Ethan drew a surprisingly decent spider on his cheek that made the boy beam with pride. When Lily blew out her candles and made a wish, then looked directly at her mother with such love that everyone there felt it. As the party was winding down and parents came to collect their children, Claire approached Ethan where he was packing up the cotton candy machine. "I can't thank you enough," she said. "This was the party Lily dreamed of, and I couldn't have given it to her on my own." "You gave her everything that mattered," Ethan said. Love, attention, the willingness to let her problem solve by inviting strangers from the park. "I just added some cotton candy and balloons." Claire smiled. "You added much more than that. You added presents. You were here, fully here for the whole party. You played games, you talked to the kids, you made sure everyone was having fun. That's a gift that doesn't come in a box." Ethan realized she was right. He'd been fully present for the first time in longer than he could remember. He hadn't checked his phone once. He hadn't thought about work. He'd simply been there in that moment with these people. "Can I ask you something?" Claire said. "Lily mentioned that you looked sad when she first saw you in the park." "Are you okay?" Ethan considered the question. "I've been going through the motions of life instead of actually living it. I built a successful business, but somewhere along the way, I forgot why success matters. I think I forgot what matters, period. And then your daughter invited me to her party and reminded me." "What did she remind you?" Claire asked gently. "That connection is what matters. Showing up for people, being present, making someone smile even when you're struggling yourself. Lily told me her mommy would smile if people were happy at her party, even though you're not feeling well. That kind of love, that kind of selflessness, that's what I'd lost sight of." Claire's eyes filled with tears again. "Being sick has taught me a lot about what matters. When you face the possibility of not being here, you realize that time is the most valuable thing we have. Not money, not success, just time. Time with the people we love. Time to be fully present instead of always thinking about the next thing. Time to see the sunset and eat cake and watch our children laugh." "How are you doing?" Ethan asked. "Lily said you're getting better." "I am," Claire said. "The prognosis is good, but it's been a hard year. Medically, financially, emotionally. I'm grateful for every day I get with Lily. And I'm trying to teach her that love is more important than things, that what we have is enough even when it's not much." Before Ethan could respond, Lily ran up holding a piece of birthday cake on a plate. "Mr. Ethan, you didn't get any cake yet?" Here, I saved you a piece with extra frosting because you brought the unicorn piñata. Ethan accepted the cake with appropriate solemnity. Thank you, Lily. This looks delicious. Did you have fun at my party? Lily asked. I had the best time, Ethan said honestly. In fact, this was the best party I've been to in years. Lily beamed. Good. And look. She pointed to where her mother stood. Mommy's smiling. I told you she would if people were happy. Ethan looked at Claire, who was indeed smiling despite the tiredness in her face. And he found himself smiling too. A real smile that came from somewhere deep inside instead of from social obligation. Over the following months, Ethan became a regular part of Lily and Claire's life. He came to Lily's school play and sat in the audience next to Claire. He brought groceries when he knew Claire had been too tired to shop. He took Lily to the park on Saturday afternoons so Claire could rest. He didn't do these things out of obligation or pity, but because these two people had become his friends, had reminded him what mattered, had given him a reason to leave work at a reasonable hour and be present in the world. He also made changes in his business. He stepped back from day-to-day operations, hired a strong management team, and rediscovered the joy of mentoring young professionals instead of just managing them. He started a foundation that helped families dealing with medical debt, funding it anonymously, because he'd learned from Claire that dignity matters as much as assistance. A year after Lily's 6th birthday party, Ethan was back on that same park bench where they'd first met. It was autumn again, the leaves falling in the same lazy spirals. But this time he wasn't alone. Claire sat beside him, watching Lily play on the swings. Claire's hair had grown back after her treatments, and the color had returned to her cheeks. She looked healthy and happy in a way that made Ethan's heart sing. I've been thinking, Claire said, about that day when Lily invited you to her party, about how one small act of courage from a 5-year-old changed so many things. She changed my life, Ethan said simply. I was lost, and I didn't even know it. And then this brave little girl walked up to me and invited me to her party. She taught me that showing up matters, that being present is a gift, that making someone smile is worth more than any business deal I could close. She thinks you're magical, Claire said with a smile. She told her, teach her that you're like a fairy, godfather who showed up and made her birthday wish come true. The truth is the opposite, Ethan said. She made my wish come true. I just didn't know I was wishing for it until she appeared. Claire took his hand, and they sat together in comfortable silence, watching Lily play. She was 7 now, healthy and happy, with no idea that her simple act of handing out handmade invitations to strangers in the park had created ripples that changed lives.